Listen closely. Mercury forms an exact square with Black Moon Lilith on Tuesday, August 26th, creating one of the most psychologically intense transits of the year. Mercury, currently positioned in meticulous Virgo, clashes directly with Lilith stationed in expansive Sagittarius. This is not a gentle cosmic nudge. This is a full confrontation between your rational mind and your wildest, most suppressed truths. Mercury in Virgo operates like a precise surgeon, dissecting every thought, organizing every word, ensuring perfect communication. Meanwhile, Lilith in Sagittarius burns like an untamed fire, demanding that your deepest truths be proclaimed without concern for consequences or social acceptability. When these two forces square each other, the result is an internal battlefield where your throat becomes the war zone. The pressure building in your communication center is not accidental. For months, perhaps years, you have been the careful editor of your own voice. You have refined away the rough edges, smoothed out the inconvenient truths, and polished your words until they became safe, palatable, and utterly disconnected from your soul's authentic expression. Today, this careful construction crumbles. Black Moon Lilith represents the part of you that refuses to be domesticated, the voice that was exiled because it was too raw, too honest, too threatening to the status quo. She is not a planet, but an astronomical point that marks where the moon's orbit is farthest from Earth. Symbolically, she represents our furthest distance from emotional safety, the place where we must stand alone with our truth, regardless of who understands or approves. In Sagittarius, Lilith's rebellion takes on a philosophical dimension. She is not just angry, she is righteously indignant about the lies that have been accepted as truth, the compromises that have been made in the name of keeping peace, the authentic wisdom that has been dismissed as too intense or inappropriate. This Lilith demands justice on a soul level and refuses to whisper when shouting is what the situation requires. Mercury in Virgo, however, insists on a different approach. This placement values precision, timing, evidence, and careful consideration of consequences. It wants to present the truth in a way that can be received, understood, and acted upon constructively. The challenge is that Mercury in Virgo can become so concerned with perfection that it never actually speaks at all, endlessly revising and refining until the moment for truth-telling has passed. The square aspect creates maximum tension between these approaches. Your body is likely registering this conflict in unmistakable ways. There may be actual physical pressure in your throat, a sensation of words being trapped, fighting to emerge, while your conscious mind works overtime to contain them. This is not metaphorical. The throat chakra, your energetic center of self-expression, is literally being squeezed between opposing forces. You might find yourself rehearsing conversations obsessively, playing out scenarios in your mind where you finally say what needs to be said, only to retreat into silence when the actual opportunity arises. The mental energy being consumed by this internal debate is enormous, leaving you feeling drained despite having avoided the very confrontations that might actually resolve the underlying tension. Some of you are experiencing the opposite manifestation, sudden eruptions of truth that feel almost involuntary. Words are spilling out with an intensity that surprises even you, carrying months or years of suppressed authenticity in a single explosive moment. While this release may feel temporarily satisfying, the lack of conscious direction often means the message is received as an attack rather than an invitation to deeper understanding. I want to hear about how this transit is affecting your personal expression. Leave a comment sharing your sun's sign and tell me about a truth you have been holding back. What words have been sitting in your throat, waiting for permission to be spoken? Your experience helps others recognize they are not alone in this cosmic pressure cooker. The key to working with this energy lies in understanding that both Mercury and Lilith serve essential functions in your psychological ecosystem. Mercury's careful analysis protects you from the consequences of poorly timed or destructively delivered truths. Lilith's urgent authenticity protects you from the slow poison of self-betrayal and the gradual erosion of your personal integrity. The goal is not to choose one over the other, but to forge an alliance between your inner analyst and your inner revolutionary. This requires recognizing that your most authentic truths deserve the gift of skillful communication, while your most carefully crafted words are meaningless if they do not carry the energy of genuine feeling and conviction. Consider the physical sensations you have been experiencing as diagnostic information rather than problems to be solved. That tightness in your throat is showing you exactly where your life force is being constricted. The obsessive mental rehearsals are revealing the conversations that most need to happen. The sudden urges to speak truth, even when the timing feels imperfect, are highlighting the areas where your silence has become unsustainable. Your relationship with your own voice is being fundamentally restructured during this transit. For too long, you may have treated your authentic expression as a dangerous animal that needed to be caged, fed only safe, socially acceptable thoughts, and allowed out only under carefully controlled circumstances. This approach has created an internal split where your public voice and your private truth exist in separate worlds. Lilith's rebellion is specifically against this fragmentation. She insists that your voice should be a direct channel for your soul's wisdom, not a diplomatic translator that renders your truth so palatable that its essential power is lost. She is not advocating for cruelty or insensitivity, but for the kind of authentic communication that creates real intimacy and genuine change. The challenge with Mercury in Virgo is that its desire for perfection can become a sophisticated form of procrastination. There is always more information to gather, more potential consequences to consider, more diplomatic ways to phrase difficult truths. Meanwhile, the situation that requires honest communication continues to deteriorate, and the pressure of unexpressed truth continues to build. This transit is forcing a recognition that there is no perfect way to speak difficult truths. There is no magical combination of words that will guarantee a positive reception. There is no amount of preparation that will eliminate all risk from authentic communication. The demand is for courage, not perfection. The spiritual lesson embedded in this square is about reclaiming your right to take up space in conversations, relationships, and situations where your voice matters. Many of you have been trained to be considerate to the point of self-erasure, to be so concerned with not offending or disrupting that you have forgotten your own needs, boundaries, and wisdom have value. Lilith in Sagittarius specifically challenges the belief that keeping peace is more important than speaking truth. This placement recognizes that false harmony built on unexpressed resentments and unaddressed issues is not actually peaceful. It is a pressure cooker waiting to explode, a foundation of lies that will eventually crumble under the weight of accumulated deception. The urgency you are feeling is not neurosis or impatience. It is your soul's wisdom recognizing that certain conversations can no longer be postponed without serious consequences to your psychological and spiritual health. Your inner knowing understands that the cost of continued silence now exceeds the risk of imperfect but honest communication. If you have been waiting for the other person to create an opening for difficult conversations, this transit is likely showing you that such openings rarely appear spontaneously. Most people are as invested in avoiding uncomfortable truths as you have been. Creating space for authentic dialogue often requires someone to be brave enough to break the silence first. The power of this Mercury-Lilith square lies in its ability to show you the real cost of diplomatic silence. Every time you choose not to express a boundary, you teach others that your boundaries do not exist. Every time you smile and nod when you actually disagree, You reinforce patterns of communication that leave you feeling invisible and unheard. Your throat chakra, the energy center most affected by this transit, governs not just speech, but all forms of creative self-expression. When this center is chronically constricted by fear of authentic communication, it impacts your ability to create, to manifest your desires, and to feel confident in your right to exist as you truly are. The healing available through this transit comes from recognizing that your voice is not just a tool for conveying information. Your voice is a direct expression of your life force, your unique perspective, your irreplaceable contribution to the human conversation. When you silence yourself to avoid conflict, you deprive the world of something that can come through no one else. This does not mean every thought should be spoken or every feeling should be immediately expressed. The integration of Mercury and Lilith involves developing discernment about when, how, and to whom your truth should be revealed. But this discernment should serve your authentic expression, not eliminate it entirely. The test of this transit is whether you can speak truth from a place of self-respect rather than reactive emotion. Lilith's fire, when channeled consciously, becomes the passionate conviction that makes truth-telling an act of service rather than an act of aggression. Mercury's precision, when freed from paralysis, becomes the skillful means that allows your truth to be received and understood. Pay attention to the difference between truth-telling that seeks to punish and truth-telling that seeks to heal. The energy behind your words matters as much as the words themselves. When you speak from accumulated resentment, even accurate observations can sound like attacks. When you speak from a genuine desire for understanding and resolution, even difficult truths can be received as gifts. The physical symptoms you may be experiencing, tension in the neck and shoulders, headaches, or actual soreness in the throat area, are your body's way of showing you where energy is being blocked. These sensations will persist until the underlying communication issues are addressed. Your body is literally holding the space for conversations that need to happen. Some of you may find that this transit brings up memories of times when your voice was actively silenced or dismissed. Perhaps you were told as a child that your feelings were too much, your observations were inappropriate, or your questions were unwelcome. These early experiences created internal sensors that continue to operate long after the original circumstances have changed. Healing these patterns requires recognizing that your adult self has resources and choices that your younger self did not have. You can choose relationships and environments where your authentic voice is welcomed. You can develop the skills to communicate difficult truths with both compassion and strength. You can learn to distinguish between people who deserve access to your vulnerability and those who have not earned that privilege. The liberation promised by this transit is not just about speaking up in external situations. It is about ending the internal tyranny of the voice that tells you your truth does not matter, your feelings are too much, or your perspective is not valuable enough to share. This internal critic often sounds like protection, but actually functions as a prison guard, keeping you locked away from your own power. As this square reaches its exact degree on August 26th, you may feel the pressure reaching a crescendo. This is the moment of choice between continued self-silencing and the courage to let your authentic voice emerge. The decision you make during this window will set the tone for how you handle similar situations in the future. Remember that speaking your truth is not a one-time event, but a practice that develops over time. Each time you choose authentic expression over diplomatic silence, you strengthen your capacity for honest communication. Each time you honor your inner knowing over external approval, you build trust with your own intuitive wisdom. The goal is not to become someone who speaks without consideration for others, but to become someone who includes themselves in that consideration. Your needs, feelings, and perspectives deserve the same respect you naturally give to others. This balance between self-respect and social sensitivity is the mastery that this transit is designed to teach. The cosmic timing of this square is not accidental. The universe is providing you with concentrated energy to break through communication patterns that have been limiting your growth and authentic expression. This intensity is meant to be used, not endured. The pressure you feel is fuel for transformation, not punishment for past choices. As you move through the peak of this transit, remember that courage is not the absence of fear, but action taken in spite of fear. Your voice may tremble as you speak your truth, and that is perfectly acceptable. What matters is that you speak, that you honor the part of yourself that has been waiting patiently for permission to exist in the world. The liberation of your authentic voice is not just a personal healing. It is a contribution to the collective awakening of human consciousness. Every person who finds the courage to speak their truth makes it easier for others to do the same. Your willingness to break the silence gives others permission to examine their own patterns of self-censorship. This Mercury square Lilith transit is ultimately an invitation to remember that your voice is sacred, your truth is valuable, and your authentic expression is a gift to the world. The pressure you have been feeling is not a problem to be solved, but a call to be answered. Your forbidden truth is ready to be spoken, and the world is ready to hear it.